Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at a really significant area in pharmaceuticals, the global market for gemcitabine HCl, focusing on 2025.
Right.
And for anyone who may be not familiar, gemcitabine HCl, it's a key drug used for treating various cancers.
It is, yeah. And we've got a pretty detailed market research report here as our main source. Gives us a great snapshot of the market now and maybe more importantly, where it seems to be heading.
Exactly. And the first big number really jumps out.
Yeah.
The global market, it's pegged at USD 2,840 million for 2025. But, and this is the really interesting part, the forecast shows it growing quite a bit, hitting potentially USD 492.48 million by 2033.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
It is. So what's behind that growth? And how does it look region by region? Let's dive in.
Okay, let's unpack that. So going from, $2.8 billion up to nearly $4.5 billion by 2033. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of about 5.90%, starting from 2025.
Okay.
And the report specifically calls out, the rise in long-term illnesses as a really key driver for that growth.
That makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. With cancer incidence rising globally, the demand for treatments like gemcitabine HCl, well, it's naturally going to increase.
Right.
So let's zoom in on the regions then, because that's where some interesting details pop up. North America looks like it holds the biggest piece of the pie right now.
It does, yeah. Over 40% of the global market revenue. The estimate for 2025 is USD 1,050.80 million.
Okay.
And the CAGR for the region, it's projected at a steady 4.4% through to 2033. Within North America, no surprise, the U.S. is the main player. We're talking USD 829.08 million in 2025, with a slightly lower CAGR, actually at 4.2%.
Interesting. And what about Canada and Mexico? How do they figure in?
Canada shows a slightly faster growth rate. Its market size is about USD 126.10 million in 2025, but the CAGR is 5.2%.
Higher than the U.S. then?
Yeah. And what's really fascinating, the report links this in part to rising awareness among electric power.
Electric power. How does that connect to a cancer drug? That seems unexpected.
It does, right? Maybe it points to a broader governmental focus, investment in infrastructure, including healthcare, perhaps tied into sustainability pushes. It's a bit speculative, but interesting.
Definitely something to ponder. And Mexico.
Mexico's market is around USD 95.62 million in 2025, with a projected CAGR of 4.9%. So pretty solid growth there, too.
Okay. So North America's big, but with some internal variation. Let's hop across the pond to Europe. How does it stack up?
Europe holds a big chunk, too, over 30% of the market. Estimated at USD 823.60 million in 2025, and the CAGR is right around 5.0%.
So slightly faster growth than North America overall.
Seems like it, yeah. If we look at some key countries, the UK stands out. It's got a projected CAGR of 5.8%, market size USD 138.36 million in 25. The report mentions rising demand for innovative tech as a factor there.
Another interesting link, innovative technology.
Yeah.
And Germany.
Yeah.
Always a major European economy.
Absolutely. Germany's market is bigger, USD 163.07 million in 2025, with a 5.2% CAGR. The report connects this to the strong presence of major pharmaceutical players in the country.
Makes sense.
Then, if you move east, Russia has a market size of about USD 127.66 million, but a somewhat lower CAGR at 4.0%.
Okay.
And then you have smaller markets like Luxembourg, only around USD 9.88 million, but still a healthy 5.3% CAGR. And the rest of Europe combined is about USD 115.30 million, growing at 3.7% CAGR.
So Europe's definitely significant, a major market, but maybe the growth isn't quite as explosive as, well, I suspect we'll see in Asia Pacific.
You're spot on there. Asia Pacific, or APAC, has about 23% of the global share right now. That's roughly USD 681.60 million in 2025. But, and this is the key thing, it boasts the highest projected CAGR overall, 8.6%.
Wow, 8.6. That's really motoring. So which countries are driving that growth in APAC?
China is a huge factor, naturally. Market size of USD 286.27 million in 2025, and a really strong CAGR of 8.1%. That's driven by manufacturers really focusing on the region. But the real standout in terms of sheer growth rate is India. Projected CAGR of 10.5%.
10.5%. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. Its 2025 market size is smaller, USD 68.16 million, but that growth potential is massive. Then you also have Singapore, Southeast Asia as a whole, Taiwan, all showing really robust CAGRs too, like 8.9, 9.4, 8.4% respectively.
That APAC growth, especially India, really highlights shifting dynamics in global healthcare. Okay, let's turn to South America now. What's the picture there?
South America holds a bit over 5% of the market share. We're looking at USD 107.92 million in 2025, with a CAGR of 6.6%, so decent growth.
And within South America?
Brazil leads the way, USD 46.19 million in 2025, and a CAGR of 7.2%. Interestingly, the driver mentioned here is increasing demand for energy-efficient sources.
There it is again, another seemingly unrelated driver, like Canada.
Exactly. Again, maybe it reflects a wider economic push, modernization that spills over into better healthcare funding or access. It's curious. Argentina follows with about USD 18.13 million market size, but a slightly higher CAGR at 7.5%, linked to rising personal disposable income.
Yeah, those unexpected drivers certainly make you think. What about the Middle East and Africa? Smaller shares, I assume.
They are, yes. The Middle East is around 2% globally. That's about USD 113.60 million in 2025. But with a pretty strong CGR of 7.2%.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia is the largest market there, almost USD 40 million, 7.5% CGR. Turkey is smaller, USD 9.09 million, but has an even higher growth rate at 7.8%, possibly due to demand and supportive regulations. Africa currently has the smallest share, around 1%, about USD 62.48 million in 2025, with a 6.2% CAGR. South Africa is the main market, roughly USD 22 million, 7.1% CAGR. And Nigeria, smaller market size, USD 5 million, but 6.4% growth, again, potentially boosted by investments in energy sources.
It's fascinating how these broader economic or infrastructural factors seem to connect, even indirectly, to a specific drug market. Okay, so that's the geographical spread. The report also breaks down the market by the type of gemcitabine HCl, right? Generic versus branded.
That's right. It splits it into generic and branded. And, well, as you might expect, the generic segment is likely dominant right now.
Lower cost, usually.
Exactly. Lower cost, proven effectiveness, and with cancer incidence rising, the demand is there. Makes sense. But interestingly, the branded segment is flagged as the fastest growing.
Oh, why would that be if generics are typically cheaper?
The report suggests it's down to ease and speed of administration. Some branded formulations might offer quicker infusion times or simpler preparation, which can be really valuable in busy clinics. They're also often used alongside radiotherapy.
Ah, okay. So convenience and specific clinical applications are driving that faster growth for branded versions, despite the cost.
Seems to be the case, yeah.
Got it. And what about the application? Which cancers see the most use of gemcitabine HCl?
So, breast cancer holds the biggest share currently, largely because, well, the global incidence is unfortunately very high.
Right.
Gemcitabine HCl is often part of the combination chemotherapy for more advanced or metastatic breast cancer. And there's research looking into using it earlier and with targeted drugs, too.
And what other cancers are significant applications?
Ovarian cancer is mentioned as a rapidly expanding area. It's often used for persistent or recurrent cases, helping improve survival times.
So a key second-line treatment.
Exactly. The high incidence and the need for effective treatments after the first line really drive demand there. The report also mentions pancreatic cancer and non-small cell lung carcinoma, NSCLC, as other important uses.
So it's quite versatile across several major cancer types. Okay, lastly, the end user breakdown. Where is this drug mostly being administered? Hospitals, clinics.
Hospitals currently have the biggest share by end user. That's mainly because, chemotherapy often requires specialized facilities, monitoring, expertise, which hospitals provide.
And they handle large volumes.
Precisely. Plus, their established inventory systems help with efficient distribution. But the fastest growing segment here is actually cancer centers.
That fits with the trend towards more specialized, sometimes outpatient care, doesn't it?
It really does. Cancer centers can offer more individualized treatment plans, often more conveniently for patients. So as cancer prevalence rises and the demand for specialized care grows, these centers are becoming more crucial.
So they're growing faster than hospitals in this market.
According to the report, yes. They often work closely with hospitals, too. It's not always completely separate, but their role is definitely expanding rapidly.
Okay, so we see this dynamic shift happening in care delivery reflected in the market. The report also touched on the wider market dynamics, drivers, restraints, trends. Can you give us the highlights?
Sure. So the main drivers, as we've kind of touched on, are the rising incidence of cancer, definitely. Also, improvements in how the drug is given, prepared, and general tech development in pharma.
And the brakes on the market. What holds it back?
Mostly financial limitations, cost of treatment, access issues, and also the availability of other substitute treatments for these cancers. Competition, essentially.
Makes sense.
And trends. Key trends mentioned are using gemcitabine HCl alongside other complementary treatments and this broader move towards more personalized medicine, customized healthcare.
Right, tailoring treatments more specifically. And just to round things off, what about the companies involved? Any interesting snippets on the competitive landscape?
Yeah, the report gives a couple of recent examples. Back in October 2024, there was a deal between Ori Biotech and Fresenius Kabi about cell therapy manufacturing.
Okay.
And in July 2024, Teva Pharmaceuticals partnered up with Kling and Formycon AG to market a biosimilar for Eylea in Europe and Israel.
So activity around related areas and biosimilars.
Exactly. And it lists some of the key players in the gemcitabine HCl space itself. Companies like Accord Healthcare, Teva, Dr. Reddy's, Sun Pharma, Mylan, Fresenius Kabi, Pfizer, Eli Lilly. Yeah, some big names.
A mix of generic specialists and major pharma companies. Okay, well, this has really been a comprehensive deep dive into the gemcitabine HCl market for 2025.
Absolutely. So just to recap, it's a big market, nearly $2.8 billion projected for 2025, and growing strongly towards that $4.5 billion mark by 2033.
And those regional variations are just fascinating. North America's dominance, but then that really rapid growth, especially in APAC. And those weird, unexpected drivers popping up, energy awareness in Canada, energy investments in Nigeria. It shows how interconnected everything is.
It really does. Which kind of leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. We see this growth driven by more cancer cases, sadly, but also by better treatments and delivery. So thinking beyond 2033, what other innovations, maybe shifts in how healthcare is delivered altogether, might reshape this market even further down the line?
A really important question. Definitely food for thought.